Just a few months ago, Brexit seemed like an unlikely possibility. Now we're on edge for Thursday's vote. We turn to preeminent economists Glenn Hubbard of Columbia Business School and Renee Stoltz of The Ohio State University to discuss the implications of Brexit. What does Brexit really mean? Is the vote about national identity, geopolitical realignment, or free trade agreements?
I think it has more to do with the fact that we have had a very long period of time with increased globalization, and so increased movement of goods, financial services, and people. The benefits of that globalization are very large, but they have been distributed very unequally. And as a result, there is a fraction of the population that really hasn't benefited, and some of it has been hurt by globalization.
I think it's all of the above. Any divorce is harder in practice than it is in theory. And if you think about what's on people's minds in Brexit, I think for some people this is political. It is about national identity, it's about regulatory deference, it's about immigration, a whole number of issues. For others, it's economic. What are the benefits of trade? What are the benefits of integration? And I think what you're seeing in the debate and the tension and the polls and the booking markets is which of those horses, the economic horse or the political horse, is likely to win the race.
What are the strongest arguments for and against Brexit?
The strongest argument for Brexit is that the UK would have more control over some regulations. It could revoke some regulations, it could choose different regulations. By far the strongest argument to stay is there is really no big upside to leave in terms, there's a very low probability of things maybe being better, but it's a very low probability. Really bad things could happen.
I think the biggest arguments in favor of Brexit tend to be political. They are the EU has an enormous regulatory burden that to many of us as outsiders would seem literally nonsensical in some areas. There are also clear immigration problems in Europe, and the question of whether the UK wants to be in the same political regime for immigration, that's perfectly reasonable. The cons for leaving, or the pros for remaining, depending on how you want to put it, have to do with economic damage of leaving. Depending on your favorite study, the UK would be between 2% per year poorer, or in the long run, maybe as much as 5 or 6% per year poorer if it left. And the reason for that has to do with the difficulty in renegotiating trade agreements and the fact that better trade and integration is also linked to productivity.
What are the implications for the global economy, for organizations such as the World Trade Organization and trade alliances like NAFTA?
Well, I think there's a real concern because, again, if I'm right, the real issue on global minds, not just UK voters' minds, is what are people around the world really saying about trade and integration? So while on the one hand, the UK-EU debate would seem to have nothing to do with NAFTA, it's about EU regulations and immigration, nothing to do with NAFTA. On the other hand, it may have everything to do with NAFTA. Have we articulated to the public what the gains are from integration and acknowledged that there may be costs as well to integration, and how do you trade off gains and costs, and how do you articulate that?
What might the impact be on M&A activity and capital raising in the UK and the EU?
Now with Brexit, the UK will still have the same language as the US, which will make it attractive for acquisitions. But it's no longer going to be a port of entry if the UK doesn't end up with a status like Norway or Switzerland. And even in that case, the port of entry wouldn't be as good as it is currently. Consequently, I would expect that there would be a decrease in foreign direct investment towards the UK. And some firms that are in the UK might choose to leave the UK to go to a European country.
Do you think there's a real likelihood of Brexit?
To me, it looks like it will be tight. If I had to bet, I would bet for the UK to remain, but there's some chance that it won't.
That it's this close says that whatever the outcome is later this week, the volatility is not going away for a while.